Hello, everyone. Welcome to the spotlight session for one of the programs we offer here at Lassonde Electrical Engineering. You guys are all here for the main reason that you are interested in coming to York, especially for electrical engineering. So today we're going to go through what the program is about and everything that you'll need to know coming in and honestly, and even leaving the program as well. So yeah, I'm also joined today by Anna. She is our domestic student recruitment officer. So she's here to help with any administration questions that you guys may have, any questions about your application or anything of that kind of sorts. So along the presentation, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the Q&A chat. All right, let's get started. So I am an electrical engineering student here at Lassonde, York, and I've actually recently graduated. So I just finished my fifth and final year of electrical engineering. And in that time, I've done a total of 16 co-op months and 4 months of undergraduate research. And I've also been a part of the biggest design team here on campus, York University Robotics Society, on the rover team. So we built Mars rovers. And a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here with a Greek background, as some of you can tell from my long last name. And I have my summer off to play lots of golf, which is a recent passion that I have developed. So yeah. So for today, we will be going over the first year courses that you'll be taking, and the courses, more specifically, the courses that are most related to the program, as well as key courses throughout the program, throughout all 4 years, important skills that you'll develop, co-op, and other opportunities that you'll have as a student here, as well as support and resource opportunities here as well. Electrical engineering. So some core first year. So in your first year of electrical engineering, it provides you with a strong base for branching out into the engineering major. It gives you an opportunity to explore various disciplines before committing to one major for second year. So here at Lassonde, if you guys don't already know, your first year is very broad and you share a lot of courses with other programs and such. But here are the three first year courses that I think most relate to the program itself. You have computational thinking through mechatronics. So here you learn about, it's a first year, first semester, you learn about coding, you kind of code from scratch. And then you write code to control like electronics, Arduinos, if you guys are familiar with Arduinos. So then you get to code them and then you get to read, values from sensors and you get to, control motors and all that cool stuff. Then you have object-oriented programming, same deal, except you use it pretty much the exact same thing as the previous course I mentioned, but now you're using Java to do that. And you learn more about programming and the very important topic in programming, which is object-oriented programming. And then in your, I think, second semester, you learn, you take a physics course, electricity, magnetism, and optics. And, like electricity is in the title, so electrical engineering. And yeah, and you learn about like the basic physics of things and yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much it. All right. So now the electrical engineering as a whole. So we have fantastic profs, very approachable, very understandable, lots of opportunity to go to their office hours and ask questions about class. We have applicable and practical labs. So typically you would learn about a certain theory, like a theoretical concept in class, and then you go to your lab and you actually apply that hands-on. For example, one of the labs in fourth year, I learned about solar panels. Then I went to a lab and I actually used a solar panel and saw how like the characteristics of a solar panel during different types of shading, which is what we've studied in class. I get to see that happen in my own hands. We also have access to state-of-the-art design softwares. As a York student, you get free licenses to Altium, which is a uh, very high-end PCB printable circuit board designing software. Now, PCB, for those of you guys might not know, is if you ever seen inside of a computer, a printable circuit board. So like the motherboard inside of a computer is an example of PCB. So learning how to design that yourself, and you can use Altium to do that, as well as Spice technology, which is a bunch of different softwares to simulate different circuitries that you may design. And there are a variety of different courses to choose from. At Lassam, we don't have electrical engineering specialities such as like electronics or power, but you can kind of specialize it yourself by being able to choose all your courses, pretty much all your courses in fourth year and third year. So you have a wide variety of courses to choose from, and some of them are dedicated towards power, some are dedicated towards electronics, and some to communication, so that you can kind of choose from by choosing your courses. And I found it extremely fun and enjoyable. All right, so these are the most interesting and important courses in my opinion. First, you have in second year, second semester, you take a course called Electronic Circuits and Devices. And this course, you learn about transistors and diodes that you may understand what I'm saying, you may not, but those are the principles and the fundamentals regarding uh, electronics. And they're like the basic semiconductor components of electronics. So you develop the very basics, you learn about the basics, how they work, how you can apply them first and second year, in second semester. Then the third year, you can take a course called, actually, you have to take a course in, I think, first semester, digital logic design. You learn about how to program these microcontroller-esque devices called FPGAs. This is a very huge field out there. So once you graduate, you can definitely do this as a full-time job. And you essentially program logic circuits into this device, and it does a bunch of computational activities and stuff. So that's a very fundamental course in third year. And then in fourth year, these are like my favorite courses. Power Electronics, by far a great course. So you learn about the electronics involving with power. So for example, um, if you guys, when you guys charge your phone, you have this little block, right? Now, does anyone, you guys might not know what happens in this block, but in your walls, as some of you may know, you have AC power, but your phone needs DC power to run it. So this guy, there's a circuit in here that takes the AC waveform, so imagine a sine wave, and it converts it to DC, so a flat voltage level to be able to charge your phone. So you learn about how to design this circuit. So after you take that course, you can actually make this yourself. Then you have digital VLSI. It's kind of like digital logic design, but you're doing it on a very small chip. So it's like micro design for digital logic. And then capstone. Everyone takes capstone. All the engineers take capstone in your fourth and final year. And what you do there is that you collaborate with other engineers from other disciplines, which is, I think, from talking with other people from different universities, is a very unique thing that we have at York. Most other universities have capstones like department program specific, but here you get to work with mechanical engineers, software engineers, computer engineers, and I think that's it. And you guys all work together to develop some kind of project. Some highlights of capstone project this year is a team built a robotic arm. I thought that was pretty cool. So if you think about it, the mechanical engineers developed the arm, the computer engineers and software engineers wrote the code for the arm, and then the electrical engineers actually, wired it up, chose the motors, make sure everything was powered, and such like that. Uh, yeah, yeah. So that's capstone, and it's a year-long project, and it's like your final evaluation for the program. Oh, and technical skills that you'll gain. So this is the first three are very broad throughout all the engineering programs: problem solving, critical thinking, mathematical analysis, as well as simulations. So in the engineering design process, especially nowadays with all the software that we have, the design process goes with uh, a conceptual design, then you do the math behind it, and you make sure that the math, makes sense, and then you run the simulations and you compare your simulations with your math, making sure everything, is working how you would want it to. Then you actually build the project, build the device, and then you test it. So those are like the main key processes in engineering design. And in particular for this program, you learn soldering with like doing courses, design teams. I think there's one course in third year that you take that helps you learn how to solder. You learn about electronics, and you get an intuitive sense of power and electronics, and you get kind of with that intuitive sense, it's comes natural to you to design and to understand how power flows. Okay, so some opportunities and valuable experiences here at Lassonde. So first thing is co-op, and I guarantee you, all of you are the most interested in co-op. So here at Lassonde, you have to do a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 20 to get our co-op certificate when you graduate. Um, and the benefits of doing co-op here is that you get access to exclusive job postings, and which is how I got my 12-month co-op. I'll talk about that later. And then you're able to start co-op after second year. So the prime time is to after you finish your second year that summer, try and do a 4-month co-op there. The positions are paid, and it's I would want to say random number off the top of my head, 98% of them or more, probably much more than minimum wage. And it provides you with invaluable experience, and it allows you to improve your resume before graduation. So personally, I did 4 months with K2I Academy, which was, after my second year, I spent that summer, May to August. And that was just like a quick co-op. I didn't have too much like technical experience, but I was able to learn a lot of soft skills in that program, in that job. And then after third year, I started in the fall. I spent a whole year, whole 12 months at this company called Evertz Microsystems, which is highly technical job position for me. And the good thing to know is that this company was actually an exclusive job offer. So what that means is that it was the job posting for this particular position was only available to York students and not to other students from other universities, which is great. And there are some jobs that York offers that you can do that with. So that gives you an advantage. Instead of competing with other universities students, you're only competing with your friends at Lassonde. Um, so yeah, so that was a very technical and got me towards the field more. And then research, we offer a couple ways of doing research. There's an undergraduate student research award, USARA, with NSERC. It's a pretty big organization. If you guys want to look it up, NSERC, then Lassonde undergraduate research, our own little research, Lura. It should be Lura. Sorry about that. And you also have the ability to volunteer or work with professors throughout the year. So you can, let's say you're in a class and you really like your professor, and you like look him up after and you realize, hey, this guy's research is pretty cool. You can talk to him after class, be like, hey, I really like your research. Can I join you? And they will either say yes or give you steps to be able to join them later. Be like, hey, I like you as a student, but you need to have um skills to be able to work in my lab, and then you can follow that, and then they will guide you to working with them. That's another great thing about the profs here. They don't, if they tell you no, it's not like an outright no. They tell you how you can get better as a student in order for that no to be a yes, right? For my personal experience, I did USRA in the summer for 4 months, where I did research and developed an EEG, which is like a sensor that senses brain waves. So that was pretty cool. And actually doing that research has led me to the next step in my career, which is doing masters, and I'll be doing masters with the same uh, professor at the same university starting in the fall. So, great opportunities for that as well here. For extracurricular, there's the Engineering Society, a Woman in STEM, and IEEE. So for IEEE is the Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers, and it's like a Canada-wide, actually, it's worldwide, especially for North America, but I think it's worldwide. It is like a board where, researchers in that software engineering, computer engineering, and electrical engineering, they develop research, and then that research is published with that program. So we have a club here at York that's very involved in that, and they're trying to like pick up people, and like always need more members. So if you're ever interested in that kind of you know electrical engineering community throughout the whole North America, definitely that is the club for you. And we have Robotics Society, which I was a big part of for 3 years, where you learn about a lot of technical skills that you may not always learn in the class, including as well as a rocketry club and a motorsports club. These clubs, the three there, are involved in a sub club system called a design team. So it's a club that you're part of a team that designs something. And we also have an event called Industry Night that usually happens once a year around September. This September will be the third year it's running, and it's where it's like a student tie event. You show up, you get food, and then we bring in companies in the industry to come in. Such I think last year companies such as AMD, you might know them from like your GPUs for your computers and even your processors. So AMD came, a great potential company to work at after you graduate. And I'm blanking on the other ones, but AMD is like the biggest one that came. Uh, yes, and we also have different hackathons throughout the year. So personal experience, 3 years at New York University Robotics Society, YURS. And I was the electrical lead and rover lead in that 3 years. And I was the research director at IEEE. Yeah. So some support and resources that we have at Lausanne as a York student. The one that has impacted me the most was the Lausanne machine shop. So as a student, you're able to go into the machine shop after you get, I think it's about 8 hours of training, and you get to learn how to machine your own parts. So for mechanical, this is huge because what they do is that, this is pretty much all mechanical stuff, right? But for someone myself who was a part of a design team, and I got a chance to also work on some mechanical aspects of the rover as well, being able to have access to machine shop to do anything I want pretty much. I bring my own metal and I can shape it and machine it all I want. I thought that was a really cool advantage that Lausanne has. So that's a great opportunity. And another really cool program is the SCHW, Student Counseling, Health, and Wellbeing, where we support students in realizing and developing their personal potential. We have certain things to offer, such as counseling, health services, and just overall well-being. So those are the three things that they go for. If you ever need someone to talk to, you can use this program here.
Right. Thank you so much, Dimitri. Especially being, a graduating slash graduated student. I know you're still waiting for a convocation. It's so helpful for prospective, future students to understand the program not only at the micro level, like from understanding the courses you take in first year, second year, all of that, to understanding the bigger picture. I love that you were able to expand on the student experience here at Lassonde. Now, I'm sure there were some things that we haven't touched on yet. So if you at home, if you're from wherever you're watching, if you have questions for Dimitri about the program or about student life, or questions for me about the application or admission journey, please don't be shy. That's what we're here for. Drop it in the chat or the Q&A. We'll make sure to leave time at the end of today's session to get to as many of your questions as possible. So make sure you put them in there for us. In the meantime, though, we have prepared some commonly asked questions, especially questions that Dimitri and I receive on like the recruitment and admissions end. So we'll go over some of those with you today. So Dimitri, one common question that I receive, and I'm sure you get as well, is how would you describe, I guess, the main difference between electrical engineering and other engineering programs, or how would you distinguish this particular program? Mhm.
Yeah, great question. First of all, it is very important for students coming into this program to be aware of how broad of a program electrical engineering is. Electrical engineering covers everything from big power to um, electronics, telecommunications, uh, electromagnetics, and even coding. So those are a lot of like big systems. And even in those like different categories I listed, there's even like, there's like a tree. You can imagine a tree. There's even more uh, to branch off from those big topics. So it's a very versatile program, which could be a good thing and also a bad thing, depending on your desires. Um, if you know that you like that like field of like anything to do with power or like e electricity, that's the way to go for sure. Um, you learn a little bit about everything, so that's the most important thing to understand. Um, and when you take this program, because it's so broad, it's crucial to do to be a part of design teams and also complete your own personal projects. And to do this, like it'll help you to get ahead in this field. And I find the program very fun as you are constantly building circuits and problem solving. Uh, and the engineering program that it most closely resembles is computer engineering. And the biggest difference between electrical and computer engineering is computer engineering is focused more on coding, and more importantly, coding the hardware. So electrical engineering is designing the hardware, designing the big power systems, while computer engineering is coding and coding the hardware. So that's like the biggest. Those programs kind of resemble each other.
Is it possible not to study coding at all while taking the electrical engineering? Because as for me, I don't fancy coding at all.
Then electrical engineering is the way to go, because I hate coding personally, so I completely understand that at all. That's why you're forced to code with this program in your first 2 years, and even that is pretty light coding. But like I mentioned before, in your third and fourth year, you get a big basket of courses to choose from, so you can avoid the coding courses, which I've done. So it's possible not to do the coding, but if you're someone who also likes coding, like a little bit of coding, then we have those courses that you can also take to do the coding. But you can completely, after second year, you can avoid coding.
It's for sure like customizable, like in
Yeah.
terms of the what I mean by that is similar to what you said about how by choosing different courses, you're kind of like customizing the degree to suit your passions and interests. Choosing an engineering program within the disciplines that we offer is similar, right? So you may not like the same things as other students. And so my advice always kind of tacked on to a question like this would always be for students to pursue what they already know their interests are or what they develop in first year. And it's one of the reasons why we have the common first year. So like Dimitri mentioned, in first year and even into second year, yes, you will be doing some coding, but that's to at least give you also some exposure and background knowledge to it. Some students may think, I just don't like this at all. But maybe if they were taking different courses or learn to see coding in a different way, maybe you don't know, right? You could learn to love it, or it confirms that it's really not for you. And then once you get into upper years, you really specialize in areas that are non-coding related if it's not for you, or for those who love it or see that it's very, you know, integral to what they want to pursue in their career, then it's something that they continue doing, right? So there is, you know, some flexibility there depending on which engineering
Yeah.
specialization you end up choosing.
So for me personally, after first year, like I already from high school, I had this sense that I wanted to be an electrical engineer. After first year, that was like solidified. I really enjoyed like the electrical engineering aspect of it. And then
Mhm.
second year, I'm looking at all the possible outcomes that I could take my career into power, into electronics, coding, and I really liked the el electronic side of it. So I tailored my courses in third and fourth year to only be about circuitry. And I only took a few power courses, a few coding courses here and there. But it was mainly, I knew I kind of had a feeling what I wanted to do, and I kind of tailored my schedule towards that. Now, some people I know did not know what they wanted to do, so they continued by taking it, broadly, a little bit for every course.
Mhm. Really depends, right? And I think we encourage students to just do what feels right for them and what suits their interests. Speaking on this about choosing the right program for you, another very common question we get is what made you choose your particular program out of all of the other engineering programs, or even more specifically, of course, we know there are a number of engineering schools out there. And so why particularly did you choose Lasan?
So, particular reason why I chose Lausanne was that I really enjoyed the campus. I came to Lausanne on a open house, and I really liked the campus. Some other schools in Toronto, such as U of T and Rice, and sorry, Toronto TMU.
Metropole, yeah.
They're like kind of embedded in the city, which is very cool. I kind of like the aspect too. But Lausanne is and York is very secluded, so it's almost like its own village. And personally, I kind of like that. I kind of liked having like, being secluded from the rest of the world and just like, like a big school student only campus. So that was a big factor, as well as every time I talked to someone, I always felt welcomed, and everyone seemed to be pretty happy here. So I kind of got that gist that it was nice. And when I picked this particular program, um, in high school, I took a computer engineering course where I used a breadboard and made circuits, like little small circuits, and I really liked that aspect of it. And I kind of saw myself, doing that in the future. So that kind of, that kind of helped me out. Before that course, though, I had no idea. So it was just that kind of lucky that I took that course and decided to branch out and try it out, and I ended up liking it. I especially like the problem solving part of it.
And I've heard that from a number of our students as well, is that sense of like you're part of like a community, right, Alasan? Like because you're, I guess, like you said, you're not within like core Toronto, you feel like the community you have at Lasan, and especially in the Bergeron building, which is like kind of the hub of our engineering programs here, you kind of feel like you're within a little city, all right, in
Yeah.
and of itself. And of course, because our campus, especially Keele campus being so large, but still all walkable, even more so, you feel like you're a city within a city, which is always a nice touch, especially for those who are maybe a little nervous about transitioning to university. If you know, if you, whether you're coming from a small high school or big high school, or if you're coming from a little further away to live on campus, even, you get that sense of community, because especially at Lasan, I know a lot of students, even after class time, they're still on campus. They're still hanging out around our buildings. They don't just kind of like go off and do something else right away, because let's say if you're in the city, maybe there's more to do around that. But other students, yeah, they're kind of hanging around. So if you're interested in that, if that sounds appealing to you, then maybe it would be a good fit. Um, Another question that I get from students as well, even just on the recruitment front, when they're trying to figure out which program might be right for them, they they ask like, oh, how do I know like I'd be a good candidate for this program, I'd be successful in this program? So in your experience, do you have any I guess how would you describe someone who would be an excellent fit for electrical engineering, or what traits do you feel like are important to have in this program to be successful or to enjoy it?
That's a great question. So, um, I think that knowing if the program is the right fit for an individual, it's very personal in terms of like how they feel about how it's what their interests are, right? So, um, I like engineering as a whole because it's kind of, I don't know, I feel kind of, it makes me kind of still feel like a little kid in that kind of sense. So as a kid, we always have interests in things. And if you want, you can kind of use that to help you decide.
Yeah.
Some kids were really fascinated with like Hot Wheels or cars. Some people, even in your teens in high school, are like, they're checking out all these like BMWs and Audis and they're interested, right? So cars, that's like mechanical, right? But then some kids are really fascinated by iPads and phones and computers, then that's more electrical, right? How you're fascinated about something, for example, but how much are you fascinated? Are you fascinated enough? Do you think that you're fascinated enough with that certain part of the world that you want to actually learn on how to build it yourself, on how to design it yourself? Like for me, I looked at a computer and I looked how complicated it looked. And I actually built my own computer before, not before, I think like around second year. And I put it together and I was like, imagine like building all this stuff from scratch. Like, people say build your computer, but you really just buy your parts, right? Imagine building your own GPU or your own processor, like that stuff, like how they worked was pretty fascinating to me. And I
Mhm,
kind of want to learn how to build that myself.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
even
you
better,
have to
getting
start
paid.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And even better, getting paid to build that kind of stuff is pretty nice too.
Yeah. And paid fairly well,
Yeah.
like depending on obviously what you do, but I do think engineering is like a pretty, has good prospects.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's nothing like getting paid well for what you love to do.
Yeah.
Great. Um, and actually this ties in, my next question ties into another question I see in the chat here. So I'll kind of link them together. Especially now as a graduating student, do you have any advice or tips for someone just starting the program? If you were to, let's say, start first year, enter the program brand new all over again, what would you do to better prepare for school? Yeah, so advice, tips, bring
Yeah.
you back in time, what would you do?
So I didn't really know what to expect when I joined, and it's a little cheating because I joined during COVID. But I found I was a little bit worried actually. I did this we have I forgot what it was called, Anna, but there was like this Lassonde school or something like that you can take before, and it like
Lasan
gives you,
Academy.
yeah, Lassonde Academy.
Yeah.
And I actually took the math course for that,
Mm.
and it gives you like a little refresher on like basic math and basic physics. Um, so I took that and I found that to be really helpful, especially since I stopped school in March, right? Because it was the COVID year. So I was a bit far from studying. So that was a good refresher. So definitely try look into that, Lassonde Academy.
Yes. So for those who are curious about what Lasan Academy is, we do offer free access to math and science modules. Um, that will be available to you in the summer. So this will be emailed directly to you before you begin your studies with us in the fall. You don't have to really look for enroll in it yourself. You'll get an email about it, and then it'll just automatically appear in your e-class, which once you're all set up and as an active student, you'll have access to. And it's free and self-paced and completely optional. So it's essentially what Dimitri used it for is what its intention is. It's just to give you all access to courses online if you want to brush up on your math and science skills, or just kind of just that refresh briefly before starting your first year courses. And so that's an excellent strategy. Any other tips or advice for
Yeah.
students?
So I also found out that first year was actually a big like first year courses by itself was quite a recap of
Mm.
grade 12 math and physics. So don't be too stressed about, oh, like there's gonna be a huge jump. The courses you take um in the first year, first semester, especially first semester, it's pretty much just a redo of your grade 12 courses. And then that's so that Lasan makes sure that sorry, yes, it was called Lasan Academy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw that in chat. So what was I saying? So yeah, so like you take calculus again, and it's pretty much the calculus one is pretty much the exact same thing that you learn in grade 12. So with like a little bit extra near the end. So don't be too worried about that gap. There's not I never found that there was a huge gap in that kind of knowledge. Um and first year I would try and have fun as much as possible, join as many clubs as you can. But also try like you kind of have to find that balance in between like how much it's hard to join clubs first year, I find from like people, that I've seen because you don't know how much time you need to study. So as soon as possible, figure out how you work best, how you learn the best, and how much time you need to study.
Mhm. Right. Anything that you would do differently or anything that worked really well for you in first year to kind of ease the transition, whether it's
Oh,
academically or personally? Mhm.
yeah. Um, the biggest thing is probably making friends. And I know sometimes that sounds hard to do, but literally I've made so many friends just by walking up to someone in class or messaging them online and asking them, hey, do you want to like study together? Or hey, do you have the notes from this class? Or hey, like what'd you get on this assignment? I found that everyone wants to help each other, for some reason, but everyone wanted to help each other. So I thought that was pretty helpful. And there's so many times when I had an assignment to do and I had no clue what to do. I messaged my friend and he knew. I was like, yes, like give me your answers. And it was fantastic to know. So develop your network of
Mhm.
uh of students.
Yeah, agree. And I think that's something like we genuinely pride ourselves on too at Lassonde, um, especially in what is a rigorous program like engineering. We want to be frank, it's a tough program, it's challenging, right? And so having that excellent support group, especially through peers, those who are in the same boat as you, is really, really important. And having, again, I go back to like that feeling of community. I know that especially in challenging programs, they may not always exist, but that's something that we really, really try to have here at Lasan, and we continue to, put a lot of time and effort to, is making sure that we're a collaborative community rather than a competitive one. Because sometimes when you're in a challenging program where everybody wants, those excellent jobs afterwards, it can feel like you're competing. But of course, to a certain extent, we all are. We want to, do well, but uh, you feel like you have a community, a group of people that is kind of supporting you, helping you, or at least right there along the path with you. And that's something that, we feel like is important to us.
Big time.
So, on this note, since I see now we've got the chat rolling, let's take a look at some of the questions that have come in for us. So, Dimitri, do you feel that the skills from electrical engineering translate to other engineering fields like mechanical? Let's say if you were to change your mind later in upper years and then switch over, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about engineering as a whole is that, especially at a university, is that it teaches you how to learn, if that makes sense, and how to learn quickly. So you might, even in high school sometimes, or even like in middle school, you might be, you might learn something and you're like, when am I ever going to use this, right? The answer is that you're not really going to use that. It depends on what it is, but the typical answer is that you're not going to use that. But the good thing is that you learned how to learn that. So as an electrical engineer, when I had to learn something mechanical, I actually picked up things a lot faster by after like third year, and I had the sense of problem solving and how to learn things, right?
Mhm.
There's so many resources online, And by doing all these courses, you kind of get the sense on like how to learn and how to pick things up quick. Um, and you can just learn something online like that. And like I learned how to use this CAD software for mechanical called SolidWorks in like a couple weekends, or maybe like even like 2 weekends, let's say. And I spent like personal time, learning this mechanical concepts. So just like, engineers will get, by taking these courses, get equipped with how to learn quickly and how to like pick things up. So electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, right? If you finish with electrical engineering, you'll get like the engineering mindset, and then after you can do all your hobbies, you can, make cars and whatnot. I have a friend right now who's building his own motorcycle, and he is an electrical engineer. He's also into like airsoft. So he built an ammo counter that involves the mechanical and electrical into that. In terms of switching programs, I probably highly advise it because not a lot of the programs overlap. So let's say you make it to third year or second year electrical engineering and you want to switch back to mechanical. The only overlap courses between those two specifically is the courses you take in first year. So you would be sent back to having to redo second year. There are other courses such as other programs like computer to electrical. There are a lot of more courses like in second and third year that overlap between those two programs. So that is probably easier to switch between. And maybe even software to electrical or software to computer. It depends, but I highly advise switching against it unless you know for sure that isn't not what you want. I think I had a friend who went to like the end of second year of space engineering, and then he realized he didn't want this anymore. Then he had to restart and with mechanical. So
Yeah. And every
yeah,
case is different. I
yeah,
would say I agree. I think it's like worth thinking about very carefully. It's it's a balance of it's okay to change your mind if you're really sure, because a lot of engineering students, I mean, first of all, that's what our first common year is for students can decide to experiment, and it's okay to change your minds. And even if you go up into like second, third year, there is opportunity to switch. I would say it's really important to take advantage of academic advising services offered at Lassonde if you are considering switching, because you'll be able to sit down with an academic advisor and kind of look at the courses that you've already completed, the courses that you'll need for if you do want to make a change, and kind of strategize or think about how to go about making that change. So do use your resources and speak with people, right? Speak with people in different programs to really figure out what might be the right fit for you. But that at the end of the day, we want to make sure whatever you do choose is the right choice for you. So there are resources available for you if you want to make that change. Um, okay, so there's a question here about the block model. Dimitri, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the block model. So if you aren't, that's okay. This particular student is as a little concerned about building the right habits as a student, because they hear that perhaps especially engineering, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So they're wondering about the block model. Do you have any experience or know anyone yourself who,
uh
if not, I can
I
kind of,
do not have
yeah.
experience. I think I may know someone, but I
Yeah.
don't think I know well
It
enough.
also may not have been a full-blown like thing yet when you had
It
first
was
joined
not.
first year. Yeah,
I
exactly.
started. I heard that like 2 years ago. I think it started like around 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So block model is, I want to say, still a fairly new option for students. That being said, it's becoming an increasingly more popular option for first year. It's because now we actually have, I don't unfortunately have the stats off uh, on handy right now, but we have research and statistics from the past few years that we've launched this option to show that students have been quite successful in the block model. So for those of you who don't know, the block model is only available in first term of first year for students in engineering at Kiel campus. So you get the option to opt into a schedule where instead of the traditional model of taking various courses simultaneously throughout the term, you're completing one course before you move on to the next one. So for example, if you're only studying calculus, you're only doing that for about like 3 weeks, and then you move on to your next course, etc. So you're still completing the exact same core courses as another engineering student who is doing the traditional model. But if you happen to be a student where you are looking to really focus on one topic at a time, maybe you struggle a little bit with, juggling multiple courses at once, or if you're just even a little nervous about the transition into university because there's a lot going on, especially in first term, right? You're adjusting to the style of university lectures, trying to make new friends, figuring out where your classes are, all of that. So that is a lot to deal with. This is just one way to at least help transition you a little bit better. You're not like going to different buildings and figuring out all these different classes at the same time. So if that's something of interest to you, you can opt into that. It was part of the co-application that was emailed to you. And you can still go into your co-application and make that change from which option you prefer, block model or traditional model. I would say though, it really depends on the individual. Some students want to go right in, have the traditional model schedule, and others want to kind of, like I said, pace yourselves a little bit more. So there's no one size fits all method, but it is an option available to you if you'd like it. And then also starting winter term, then you're back to the normal traditional schedule. Okay. Ooh, another question about general age spread for first year students in engineering. So this is very, very interesting. Um, Majority, at least again on the admissions end, and Dimitri, you can, again, based on maybe your classes, you can correct me or provide your input. Majority of our students are direct entry high school students. So that's not to say all of them are. We do have a large cohort of transfer students. We have some mature students. We have those who are coming back for a second degree, right? So we have people coming from all different walks of life. But I would say majority would be direct entry high school. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, interesting. This one is for you. What is your day-to-day like during your co-ops? Great question.
Yeah, great question. So the first co-op I did, it was more of like a administration and more of a project managing co-op. So I did a lot of like, making slideshows and presenting, and it was also like a tutoring for like high school students. So it was a lot of that as well. The second one was more technical, and like I mentioned before, I found out that I wanted, like after second year, I wanted to go into um ele- uh electronics, right? So this co-op was actually very heavy on that. So what I would do is that I would help design my own circuit boards, right? I mean, not my own, but for the company. And I would even help with fixing issues. So once we design a board, it doesn't always work. It actually almost never works the first try. So you have to kind of figure out why it's not working. So that was a lot of my job as well. So I would design them, get them back, figure out what was wrong with them, make the fixes. So actually, solder on the board, make the changes on the board to fix it, test the fix, and then implement that fix in the next revision of the design. Um, that was the biggest part. And also, if some of you remember that 3201 course, the digital logic design course I was mentioning, I also use a lot from what I learned from that course into that by programming FPGAs for yeah. So day to day was come in 9 o'clock, actually sometimes even earlier. No, sorry. Come in, I think I came in at like 7:45, left around 4:30. And then I had like an hour lunch, did work, talk with coworkers. I felt like a grown up. Let me just put it that way. And also money was nice. Money was very nice. And the beautiful thing is that, worked Monday to Friday and that was it. No homework, nothing. So I worked hard when I was there Monday to Friday, the 8 hours a day. Then I came home and I relaxed, watched TV and all that stuff. And which actually, looking back at some advice for you guys, was kind of a mistake. I kind of let myself relax too much, and then when I came back to school, I was kind of struggling with like getting back to the rhythm of studying and never having time to myself, or not never, but not a lot of time to myself. Um, yeah, and I should have been like studying like something else, like doing my own personal projects on during my free time. But yeah, that was pretty much the day to day. It was very fun.
I will say though, I feel like you're a little hard on yourself right now because it's also okay for students to, I mean, clearly you're fine, right? You
Yeah.
feel you still, but this just goes to show the very like typical kind of like, and of course, even looking at the chat, I can see a lot of the students here today. They're like very keen to want to, do well, to do their best and just set themselves up for success, which is fantastic. And of course, we encourage that. But again, I personally, I was a former teacher, so I always try to remind students it's okay to also take breaks. And I think for you, it's kind of like you said, a glimpse into like post graduation, like adulthood, right? Where you're like, oh,
Right.
I go to work and I come home and I have like work life balance,
I
which
have money to spend on like random
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, money is spent on yourself, money is spent on your other passions for that work life balance. Yeah, so it's okay to also take a little time in between to, just relax because of course, when you're in the full swing of things, especially during the school year as a student, it can get really, really busy. So it's okay to take that little break. On that note though, I guess this conversation sparked another question which was what helped you land that co-op position?
Yeah, great question. For this one in particular, um, again, it was an exclusive posting that Lasan had, so my competition was much less.
Mhm.
Because there's less students. Yeah, and also, I from what they were asking me during my interview, they were impressed with my GPA, and they really liked, and this was just after doing the research, the 4 month research, and they liked the fact that I did the research. So those were the two main things that they kept asking. Um, and yeah, so I think I would probably say those were the two reasons. I had the research experience, and I had a pretty good GPA. But that's not always the case. I have a lot of friends who got co-ops that didn't have good GPAs, or not that good GPAs. And most companies I find actually don't even care about your GPA as much. Um, but some companies do, like in my case. So it depends. Um, yeah, so that kind of helped me there. And what actually helped me go through the co-op and actually be able to perform pretty well was actually my time at the Robotics Society. As I was mentioning, what I did day to day, right? I designed the boards, I fixed the boards, and then I made the changes. I did the exact same thing at the Robotics Society, so that actually helped my performance. So just a lot of extra curricular, right? Because the problem is that sometimes people think that school by itself is fine, and it can be, but it's a lot easier to get positions when you have the extra curriculars, especially when it's related. So personal projects, design teams, research, all that kind of stuff really helps.
Yeah. And also, I feel like you're really good with people. Like, I think your soft skills, your people skills are excellent, even in like our work in the past year. So I think that's something else not to overlook, like for
Mhm.
students, right?
That's true.
The soft skills, the people skills, the networking
Yeah.
opportunities that you gain through, like you said, extracurriculars, clubs, athletics, other like volunteer opportunities, all of that, they're so, so important. And I think at the end of the day, it's people hiring people. So being able to connect with people is so important. So really lean into the community and the opportunities that
Yeah.
our community offers. I think you'll find benefits in that.
I heard a stat that like surprised me. So not for co-ops, but once you graduate, there's something like, I don't remember the stat exactly, but more than half of the jobs that that get hired are not even posted like on like LinkedIn or like anything like that. What that means is that those people are hired through connections. So there are so many jobs, there's so many times where people get hired for a job position that was never even on, like there was no job posting for it. It was just a network option. So you knew a friend who worked at a company and they said, hey, you want someone actually just retired or somebody just left. There's actually a spot for you. There's no posting or anything like that, but you want to hop on. Actually, funny enough, I got my friend a job at my co-op because my company had a very particular program called like uh refer a friend. So before I left, it was before I left, so I still worked there, and I gave him I kind of forwarded his resume and his cover letter and everything like that. He did an interview still, and he got the job.
Mhm. Yeah. And I even in my experience, a number of our student ambassadors had landed jobs after graduation through either staying in touch with their co-op employers, right? So staying connected, not just while you're there, but even afterwards, they might want you back, right? And even if they don't want you back right away, there might be something there for you,
Big time.
later down the road. So just kind of reminding them that, you did excellent work when you were with them goes a really long way later on. And then other students, like, yeah, met employers, do industry nights, do different events that we held on campus. Even some of our like open houses that we've had on campus, like students met people who knew employers or hiring managers who were looking for fresh grads, looking for engineers that were eager to go out there and do something right away. So again, like, if you are talking to people, if you are sometimes breaking outside your comfort zone a little bit, it could actually really pay off in the long run. And don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen right away for you. It will eventually. And again, we have a lot of stories here at Lassonde that show that it is worthwhile. One more question before we wrap this up, because I know we are looking at the 1 hour mark right now. How easy or difficult, or I guess any advice can you share about balancing academics and something outside of that? So, for example, this particular student is a soccer player, a footballer, and so they are an athlete. They're also looking to study engineering. What advice would you have for someone who's trying to balance course load and other things?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's all about time management and setting priorities. Sometimes soccer might have to take a priority over school, and that doesn't mean that you're going to fail, right? It doesn't mean much, right? You can always there are times where you're able to put soccer, for example, soccer in front of school. Sometimes you can't, right? You have a test tomorrow and such. But I also felt like a little like okay, first of all, York also has the option where you actually pay for courses, not the semester. So you're able to um take what that does is that you don't lose money by taking less courses in a semester. So that actually helps. So you can prolong your time here at York by taking like fewer courses than what you typically would during a semester, and that will give you more time
Mhm.
to do that extra curricular. But also, um, you know, a key to actually doing well and being able to have that extra curricular stuff is knowing how to kind of play the game, I want to say, with how things are marked. Some things are worth 5%, some things are worth 10%, some your exams might be worth 40 or 35% of your grade. So it's more about like, okay, if I like fail this quiz that's worth 2%, does that
Mhm.
really impact my grade? No. So then I'm not really going to study for it. I'm going to go play soccer. Like, obviously, I don't
Mhm.
really recommend doing that. You should always study for everything, but sometimes you got to do with what you got to do, and you can kind of play the game
Yeah,
to
you have to weigh kind of
yeah,
like weighing like your values, priorities, and
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
what's more important, right? And also paying attention, like you said, to the weight of different assignments and how much you want to prioritize that particular task, and then kind of how much time are you going to put into that, right? To kind of
Yeah.
match the input and output of it. Agree. And then also depending on if just adding on to what you were saying earlier, Dimitri, about like I already lost my train of thought. But in terms if you are an athlete, right? maybe I don't know if you are a varsity player or not, but let's say if you are even a varsity athlete here at York, there are accommodations and modifications that can be made to again fit your needs. And if not, I recommend speaking with your profs. Like I actually like talking to the people who will be grading you, assessing you, right? And seeing if there's anything that can be done there so that you can still keep on top of your courses, your grades, without having to sacrifice a passion or something else that's really integral to who you are as a person. So whether it's extracurriculars, clubs, sports, competitions, all of that. Because I will say we have really understanding profs who know that of course you are a multidimensional person, right? There's more to you, like Dimitri said, there's more to you than just school. And so getting to know your profs, getting to know your TAs, getting to know your peers in the program will really benefit you because let's say if you miss a class or you miss something, you can ask someone for notes. If you have a question because missed that lecture, you can talk to your prof during their office hours to kind of get filled in. You can look at their slides and go to them afterwards, questions, all of that. So it's really important to lean into those resources. And also, I like Dimitri said, with the reduced course load, it is an option for students. If you really don't have to feel like it's a race, like you have to finish all of these courses at the same time as your peers, if your situation is different from your peers. And it's really great that we do have a system where you are paying by course. So you don't feel like you're paying the same fees as everyone, even though you're taking less courses. You can take your time and do what you need to do in order to still feel like you're getting the most out of your degree and your time here in university. Yeah, so hopefully that,
Yeah.
yeah.
That also helps a lot with people who have to work to pay for their school. So they have like part-time jobs, they're working 15 hours a week or more, and they're able to still stay in school and yeah, so
Yeah, we have a
that's
number of
nice.
students that are
Yeah.
working as they study, right? It's actually becoming more and more of a norm now that I feel like a lot more students are doing some kind of work to kind of, yeah, keep up with, cost of living and all of that and tuition fees. And we understand that. So again, just know that there is support available for you, but don't be afraid to reach out to find that support. So speaking of, we're going to wrap it up here today. Dimitri, do you want to speak a little bit on other opportunities and then we'll conclude?
Uh, Opportunities.
Oh, or do you want me to?
think-
Oh, it's just, yeah.
oh yes, sorry, hold on.
Sorry, didn't mean to catch you off guard. I know we
Yeah,
were
no, sorry, I forgot
conversation.
what happened. What's going on? Uh, Actually, yeah, if you would like to
Yeah,
continue.
of course, not a problem. So I know that today we tried to get through as many of the questions as we could. You might still have more. There might be some questions that come up later as we're reflecting on today's session. There are opportunities to stay in touch with us. If you would like to come see our beautiful campus in person. So for example, on the slide here, you can see our Bergeron Center for Engineering Excellence. That, again, that's the building I talked about. That's like central to all of our engineering programs. If you want a tour of our sites, you can visit our Discovery Days website. So if you scan the QR code in the top right corner, it'll bring you right to that website. You can register for a tour, meet myself, meet other student ambassadors like Dimitri, and we'll show you around. Otherwise, if you're interested in other engineering programs or student life in general at Lassonde, we have a number of spotlight sessions and student panels lined up for you in the coming week. If you happen to miss any of them on the same website, we will very shortly upload recordings of these sessions. Okay, so if you missed part of today's session or you want to go back and listen to something, be patient with us. We'll have those recordings up for you in the next week or so. So just check our website. If you have other questions, the best source for you is the Lassonde community on Discord. Okay, so that's also on. If you scan the QR code, you'll see a link to join there. We have students like Dimitri on there who can answer your questions, whether they're program specific or more general. So it's a great way to get quick answers and also just kind of see what other students in your cohort or in your year in your program are wondering about. Last but not least, of course, if there's something specific to you or your application, feel free to send us an email at ask@lasonschool.com. Of course, it's a busy time, but we are trying our best to get to every inquiry as soon as possible. So don't be afraid to reach out if you ever need our support. And on that note, thank you all again for taking the time to join us tonight. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your interest in our programs, our school, and we're really looking forward to hopefully seeing you on our campus very, very soon. So thank you, Dimitri. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.